Hey, welcome back to Melissa Hager TV. Hello, YouTube. It's been a moment, and I am so glad to be back. Hi, nice to see your eyeballs. Well, I can't see you, but you can see us, so that's awesome. I have two really cool friends with me today, and we got a special announcement and a really cool thing that we're doing, and we want all of you to be involved with us. And I know a lot of you are the kind of people, like our kind of people, that want to make this world a better place, and we have just the thing for you. So first off, let me introduce you to Kelly Kimber and Dylan Emerton.
Hi.
So, girls, what are we going to talk about today?
D-Smilez.
D-Smilez!
Woo!
Yes. What is D-Smilez?
So D-Smilez is a nonprofit organization that we've started so that we can help
individuals or families. That's all right. In recovery and during their grief as they have suddenly lost somebody or due to suicide. So we're going to help them with therapy, financial, anything that they need.
Anything that could help them in a positive
Yes, in
way.
a positive, to bring smiles back to their face.
We have all been affected by this personally, different, and that's what has made this such a great trifecta to come together to start this. Yeah. But I will tell you, so something that we notice, Dylan is our comedy series in-house DJ who is at most all of our events, and Kelly has stepped up as admin behind the scenes, doing Facebook events and ticket links and all that stuff, and taking tickets, selling merch, doing that stuff at the door. If you've been to one of our comedy series shows, you have seen these two faces there. And something that we all saw last year in 2023, more prevalent than ever before in the 7 years we've been in existence, is the people that have been big fans of the comedy series and have regularly come to our shows, but suffered a tragedy either during COVID, right after COVID, and came to our shows consistently in 2023 and completely changed their outlook, their current outlook on life, being so devastated and in such a dark place, and getting them back out of the house, getting them to a live show, getting them laughing, getting them around good people, around joyful people, and how much they changed over the course of the year. And to some effect, the same thing happened for each of us in different ways, based on things we were going through. Dylan has a much different story. Obviously, we're all brought together by this purpose, but we've personally been affected quite differently. So, Dylan, tell everybody what gets you motivated out of bed every day to be like, I'm going to run this nonprofit, and I'm going to run it like nothing before.
It's all due to Derek. He had the biggest heart, and he wanted to make sure that everybody smiled because you never knew what was going through in their life. And knowing how he was, I want to keep that going.
He made a lot of... he made a very strong impact on a lot of people. I mean, I knew him for one of the shortest periods I've known anyone in my 41 years on this earth.
Me too.
And I still just cannot. A day does not go by where something happens where he comes to mind. And I'm like, what is this guy haunting me? Good.
You never know. He might.
He probably is.
Yeah.
So for you guys to know, Derek Sorensen was my partner. He was also a local radio personality on 103.9 The Fox here in Genesee County in Michigan. He died suddenly. We were at one of our gigs for our company, 529 Productions, and he just one day, perfectly fine, looked at me and says, I have a pain right here in my throat, and stuff started happening really fast. So losing somebody suddenly that you don't expect at a very young age, I have learned a lot, not just by what he was and who he was about and what he thought, but there's really no help out there. We weren't legally married. Everything that we raised, I gave it to his daughter because that's who deserved it. Going Though for therapy, if you don't have insurance, luckily I have insurance. His daughter has insurance. My daughter has insurance. We can pay for therapy, but a lot of people don't have that. And if they do, they don't have great insurance. A lot of it still comes out of your pocket.
Yeah, if you have the bare minimum,
Correct.
you're not going to get any extra help.
Correct.
Yeah.
Yep. But
For some reason, our government has put mental health on a back burner.
absolutely. Yeah. And mental health is, I'd have to say, since July 16th, 2022, it might look like I'm doing good, but really I'm not.
Yeah.
I keep busy. But when you talked about his impact, even on all of us, because he does he does do a lot of things, messing with the sound. Computer all of a sudden will be screeching in a show. That just happened in a show in Cass City. I was like, what's going on? Stop it.
Yeah.
The impact that he had, I wish he really knew.
Yeah.
He always wanted to be on that platform, but he didn't realize the small amount of, like you said, people just, you only knew him a small amount of period of time, and the impact that he made on you, not only bringing us all together, but the listeners that I still hear from. You know, there was one listener that absolutely reached out to me, and I remember her story very vividly because she even came to the funeral and wanted to meet me to tell me again. And her son told her he wanted to commit suicide. And she called every day. I always knew who it was, and Derek would tell me, but the first thing she thought of was calling him because they made a relationship. Even though he was live on the radio, he never hung up with her until she was somewhere safe with her son and with other people to help. And to think of that, like when he was live, It wasn't no recording. He was literally pressing the buttons. And we've been on the radio station. They're live.
Yeah.
You can make mistakes. People
Yep.
are calling in and everything, but he made sure to never hang up and make her sure she felt comfortable until she got to her son.
So let's talk about the impact he had on your daughter, who has a father that is, pretty non-existent in her life.
Correct.
So he stepped in
Yes,
and
he
played a huge male role of authority and of nurture in her life,
Yep.
but wasn't her legal guardian, wasn't
No.
her legal father. And, what has your daughter experienced in the aftermath of Derek being plucked off the earth suddenly?
She struggles a lot with it. Just as our commercial yesterday on the radio, I was a mess listening to hearing his voice and his sign off, and she won't listen to it. She says, "No, I don't want to cry, Ma." She does not. It's very difficult for her because she only trusts certain men. Besides my dad and my brother, her uncle, Derek was the first person that actually sat down and listened to her. Didn't try to come in to be a father. That was not what he was trying to do. He wanted to be her friend, and because from his past and his childhood, he knew how it was to have divorced parents, how it was to have certain people come back into her life, or they moved on and started a new family, and how that felt. So she struggles a lot with that because now she doesn't have that person. My parents are still married. So I can't relate to that. And now
Right.
she feels like she doesn't have somebody that she can relate to.
Yeah.
So she struggles a lot. She doesn't talk about it. I'm sure she does in therapy a lot.
Well, and I think every
But-
child wants to see their parent happy, and you
Absolutely.
have been her only parent.
Yeah.
And she is now, how old is she? 20?
She just turned 20.
She just turned
last
20 years
month.
old. Oh my gosh, that's crazy.
I know.
And as she has mentioned before how happy she saw you with
Yes.
Derek. And so that's devastating, not only her loss, but suffering your loss also.
Yeah.
And that's tough on a kid.
It's very tough on a kid. Not only has she saw me struggle through a divorce, struggle through other relationships, finally find Derek being happy, and now she's back feeling like I can't help my mom because she's struggling. She's struggling herself, and then I'm struggling, and I just put it to the back burner when she knows I just might need to sit and just cry my eyes out.
Right.
And she doesn't want that. The funny thing is she tells me, because usually I start crying in the truck. And it's because a song hits or I'm just thinking and my mind's going and I start sobbing. And she's like, you really need to pull off the road. I was like, why? And she's like, it is worse than texting and driving or texting and driving. You crying and driving, you need to pull off because you're going to start snorting. You can't see. You're hyperventilating. Like, get off the road. Do not cry in the truck. Yeah. So she does struggle. Emma, his daughter, is struggling. She's doing good, but there's times that I know she's struggling. It's hard. That was her best friend. He was definitely her best friend, confidant, and it's very difficult at a young age. No matter if she was only 20 at that point, it's hard to lose a parent.
Yeah. So, how did Derek pass?
He passed of an aortic dissection, meaning his heart pretty much dissected from arteries and he bled out. He was conscious.
Slowly from the inside, but not slowly because it happened kind of quickly. But
yeah, it happened. It happened around 7:30 that evening.
Very painful.
He went unconscious, had a seizure. There was a little more to it that I don't really talk about, but he did become conscious. He knew who he was. He knew who I was, our address, phone numbers, children. By the time the EMT got there, they rushed. We were in the country, so I said, take us to the closest hospital. As soon as we got there, he was still conscious. They knew exactly what he said. He was tired and pointed again at his throat, and they were instantly on his heart and started working on him, and it was too late. There's a lot more details, but yeah,
right.
It was too late.
And he was how old?
46.
Young man.
Young. Perfectly fine that whole day.
Yeah, one of the, a lot of us have been to a lot of funerals, but even in death, his funeral was impactful, meaning all walks of life were in that room. I mean, when I'm telling you guys, now listen.
I'm sorry.
I know.
It's not funny.
Because
it's not funny, but it is.
You want to talk about, like the churchy people that you would expect at a funeral, the religious people, and then kind of some of the freaks and geeks of the world that and the way everyone meshed together in one, it was so cool. It was everybody.
I laughed because I knew all the ex-girlfriends came.
The ex-girlfriends? Yeah.
All of them came out.
There was hoes in the room.
There was definitely I'm a hoe tribes.
There was drag queens in the room.
It was.
I'm saying everybody. Now, think about by 46 years old, having that kind of impact on a community, a state, your slice of the world, that many different kinds of walks of life.
It was.
People tattooed from the tip of their head to their toes, sitting next to somebody that looks like they came off of Little House on the Prairie.
Yep.
And they were just, everybody was hugging each other, consoling each other. It was the coolest come together that I've ever seen currently in my life. It spoke volumes about who he is, what he stood for.
For me, it was overwhelming, but it was also comforting.
Yeah.
To hear all the stories and how they impacted, he impacted them was just amazing.
Like when you find somebody like Derek who has that gift, that natural gift to, people say like, oh, you light up a room by walking in it. Well, actually, that is a nice compliment and that's something nice to say. But very few people actually possess that gift, I think.
Yeah.
And Derek genuinely was one of those people. And he didn't even know he had the gift. I can say I think that's what made it so pure and so beaming to the rest of us is because he didn't even realize the impact he had.
Yeah, no.
So he was constantly doing it unbeknownst to him.
Yep. And not even like at events.
Yeah.
We would go to Meyer to grocery shop And I'll never forget, he put Beautiful Life by Ace of Base in his pocket, and it was blaring. And he was singing and dancing around,
Yeah.
and he would always introduce himself to the greeter, and he'd be like, hey, how are you today?
Yeah.
And, of course, they want to keep on talking. He's like, see, told you they needed to talk to somebody today.
Mm-hmm.
But he waited that whole time with Beautiful Life, Ace of Base, him singing and dancing all grocery shopping.
Right.
Until we were checked out, and the person behind us, when we were leaving, they're like, hey, sir, I just want to thank you. You made my day today.
Yeah.
And he looked at me and he went, that's all I wanted.
Yeah. Something that completely blew us away. I know we recently talked about this. We've known Kelly for years.
Yep.
Years. And we are having this great, amazing girlfriend talk on a long drive. And she starts spilling her guts to us about this event that happened in her life. And I was blown away.
I was too. I was
like, how
what?
do we not know that? So, Kelly, what is your motivation to be involved in D-Smilez?
So my motivation is April of 2005, I was told by my mother that my dad had passed away. Long story short, he took his own life. They found him in the garage of my childhood home, and he was still living there. Later, I found out neighbors had called me. He had called me, which is very, very tough. It's taken me a very, very long time to talk about it because I don't... It's been 19 years and it's still just as a raw. So, damn it.
It's okay.
One sec.
I don't think grief will ever go away.
No. Definitely
I
not.
think even with Derek that night and what I witnessed and the look in his eyes, I'll never forget. So it's okay.
Well, you held yourself together pretty well for being so fresh.
It's because I cried all the way here and redid my makeup. So I cried all day yesterday with the commercials.
Guys, I'm really dehydrated, so I just want you to know I've been very sick and ill. I don't have tears left.
Oh, I thought you were saying you were partying last night.
No. Drinking that water.
Well, my dad was a very special man. He was a very selfless man. He was a wonderful father. He would do anything for his family, anything for us girls. At his funeral, I had many people come up to me and say how, he always talked about us and how we were his world and everybody knew that. And so, my parents were divorced too. And so then they got divorced when I was 16. So you kind of got to pick a parent, I went and lived with my mom, and my sister lived with my mom. My older sister was married. So, he was alone. Well, he ended up remarrying. And actually her son is the one who found my dad, but it's almost like you're hovering above yourself, just watching everything play out. Like, it's not real life. It's not. Like, you didn't really hear what you just heard. Like,
How old were you when you went through
I was 25. Madison was 7, and Michael was a month old. So it was kind of
Which
like...
is your kids?
Yes, my kids. So I had, a month-old baby, and, you're already emotional after that. And, like, my 7-year-old, you don't explain that to them, really. You don't.
Right.
Like, I don't know how.
Mm-hmm.
So your dad was a military guy?
So my dad was in the United States Marine Corps.
Mm-hmm.
He
served our country.
He served in Vietnam. He never talked about it ever. I know I had a sister-in-law who she said he opened up to her a little bit about it. So I'm grateful for that she was there to listen. That's the biggest thing for me too, is the why. Like, there's no there's no answer. You know, I have no closure. You know, I've had many people that I love dearly pass away, and it doesn't affect me this way because, you know, like my grandma was really close to her. She passed away, and I know why she passed away. Like, I know, and I can recover from that. I can heal from that. Even though it still hurts, I can heal from it because I have answers. But with my dad, I have no answers. I don't know why. I don't know if his time in the military contributed to it. I don't know, you know, if his divorce contributed to it. I don't know if him always, you know, going above and beyond and being worn out probably, you know, possibly contributed to it. I just don't know why I don't have answers, and I never will, and it just sucks.
Yeah. I'm assuming he didn't leave a note or anything.
He did not leave a note. No.
That has to be one of the hardest. It goes back to the mental health, right? It's the hardest thing. Even though I know of what Derek passed of, I ask the why. I have the guilt.
Yeah.
Where did I make the right decision?
Right.
You know, I'm assuming you probably have that guilt too.
Yeah.
Of could I have helped him?
Right.
And if I'd known something, could I have been?
But it has taken me years to understand that it has nothing to do with me. It has nothing to do. Like, he could have been hurting from me. He could have been hurting from my sisters, from his wife, from anybody.
Anybody, yep.
But once somebody who is committed to that, I personally feel like they have literally left mentally checked out, because my thought is you can't complete suicide if you are in the right mind. Like, you are fight or flight when it comes to, you know, so I feel like there's no
like you said,
logic. There's nothing mentally anymore to stop them. He was 52 when he passed away.
Now, you just mentioned it took you years to understand that.
Yes.
So how many years of what ifs, why, guilt, we could have done this, we should have done that, we should, you know.
Probably a solid 15 years. And, I mean, sometimes it still creeps in there. And then I remind myself that, you know, it's nothing to do with me. I couldn't have done anything. Sure, I could have visited more. Sure, I could have called more. But at the end of the day, I called. I visited. I told him I loved him all the time. He knew it. At least I have to believe he knew it, you know.
Yeah, and that's your father.
Yeah.
That we were just talking about the importance of parents and the role that they play in our lives. And we all know parents do their best. And if you don't know that, I'm going to remind you, in case we got some young people watching right now that are locked in their room hating or swearing or like, I'm never talking to you again, Mom. Listen, we're all doing our best. Truly, we're all doing our best based on what we have been given. Yeah. We're doing our best. So have a little grace with your parents. And both of you in these situations, walking through this, I can't imagine with the loss left behind, and then the fear of loss. How do you not fear that?
Right, and I do. That's something that I fear all the time. It's almost like good and bad. It's like I walk on eggshells, but it's not protecting anybody at the same time. You know, it's not doing them any favors. Like, when I lost my dad, and this is a big part of why this is very important to me. When I lost my dad, like, I didn't, you know, I feel like, not saying it's anybody else's responsibility to reach out, but I feel like there should be resources in, like, funeral homes based on your loss, I guess. So you can have that pamphlet there for loss of a loved one from suicide or, you know, suddenly or whatever. I mean, maybe it's too much. I don't know, but
I've realized there's not much out there.
There isn't. Like, I don't know if there's much because, to be honest with you, I have not even researched it. I never got help. I never. But that's the thing. People don't. Like, they don't, because we're private people. We
Correct.
don't want to talk about it.
Yep.
But we need to talk about it. And I
Well, and I
never
think-
sought it out. And
I feel like sometimes people assume a lot of people are reaching out,
Right.
Correct.
or organizations are reaching out, so they don't want to bombard you with
Right.
more, and
Right.
they don't know the proper approach. So
Yep.
instead of just, hey, if you screw up, you screw up, at least try. They don't even do that. They're like,
Right.
oh, I don't know what to say, so I'm not gonna say nothing at all, which couldn't be worse.
Right.
Couldn't be
Well, we
worse.
talked about that last time we went on video. People don't know what to say to you, right?
No.
Whether it's, hey, I know the support group, or hey, I'm here if you want to just sit and cry or just talk. People don't know what to say, and then they move on with their own lives. And we're here still trying to recover and pick up the pieces and, have that guilt, those questions. You want answers, whether it was from suicide or a sudden death. I have those questions just like Kelly did with her dad. Should I have went to doctor's appointments with Derek? Could I have asked other questions that Derek didn't? Was this happening beforehand and we just didn't know it? Why him? Why me? We finally found each other. We had our home. We had our 2 girls. Why now? Who made a mistake? Was there a mistake? Could we have caught it?
Right.
But there is nothing.
So I haven't talked about it because I don't want my dad to be remembered by his death. I want him to be remembered for fighting for our country. I want him to be remembered for, the life he gave his kids. I want him to be remembered by the good husband that he was, for so many years.
As he should.
I want him to be just remembered as a wonderful man who would do anything for anybody. Like, he worked for GM for he could have retired after 25 years. He wanted to work for 30 so that he could, retire and go up north. He wanted a house up north. I think he got to 28. So, yeah, I just want him to be remembered that way. That's why I have never really said anything about it. So,
Which he is.
You're doing
hopefully.
that. You're doing that right now. That is exactly what this is all about.
And coming to what you said, Mel, a lot of people judge. I've learned that the hard way. A lot of people...
they're not in your shoes.
They're not in your shoes. And I had a best friend die suddenly in front of his new wife of 3 months in 2020. And I just listened to her. I had no clue of what she was going through. Didn't understand it. Couldn't fathom what she had seen. And then it happened to me 2 years later. Knowing somebody that could relate to me was wonderful, that I could just call up in the middle of the night and be like...
Sucks that you're in the same club, but it can
Correct.
easier to know that somebody...
One of my other best friends, same thing. Her husband died, and her kids were young. Other friends, they don't understand. Not that they're not there for me, but they don't. A lot of times they don't know what to say. Other friends that I thought were friends thought and judged. Well, death wasn't disclosed. Death was disclosed. I would tell anybody. They assume it was a suicide. They assumed it was drugs. They assumed, something bad happened. Well, it did bad happen, but people are always going to judge. And a lot of people don't know how to handle that. That's part of the grieving recovery. They are going to say things.
Well, I think a lot of people, too, they feel awkward trying to talk to somebody who's lost somebody because they don't know what to say.
Correct.
And so they don't say anything because they're afraid they're going to say the wrong thing.
Yep.
But just if you ask questions.
Say something. Yeah.
Ask, say, I don't want to feel insensitive or seem insensitive, but, if you ever need to talk or if you, can I ask how he passed away?
Right.
Instead of just the rumor mill spreading that he
Making
died for a
assumptions.
seizure
Yeah.
or drugs or something, I don't know. It's difficult.
So imagine a big, eclectic, huge family being created right before your eyes, literally. If you have a story that you would like to share in the comments, we would love to read it. We would love to hear it. So please share with us,
Yes,
please.
please.
But imagine this gigantic, and this is why we're putting this out here to the millions of people on YouTube, because we want you to join our family. We want to create, through D-Smilez, a huge family of people that are overcomers. You know, people like Jen Horling, who leads this movement called the Overcomers. She is going to be a part of this.
I know. I love her.
She is going to have
you, Jen.
resources. Hi, Jen. She's going to have resources. I got goosebumps. She's going to have resources that we're going to be able to send out to the families, to send out to the people that are in the aftermath. You guys have seen her right here on this channel, Kelly Hausman, who is an amazing mental health professional, she gets it. She gets it. She's a real person that deals with real people in loss. And she is going to be connecting us with awesome mental health specialists that we will have at the call of a dial. Like, here's the phone list. Call anybody, anytime, right now. Call them. There's an ear on the other end of that phone. Reach out. You're up in the middle of the night having the worst night of fear or regret or sadness, or pull out your D-Smilez phone list and call somebody. Call somebody on the list. That is what we are trying to create, and the family's got to get bigger. It's got to get bigger, and we need you guys to help us because we need somewhere. All of us need somewhere to go to feel comfort. I mean, imagine like when I know by the end of the holidays we're all kind of over it, but imagine for me, I get really excited when the holiday season comes around, because there is nothing that I love more than the first hug I get from my grandma. She is like the most wonderful, loving ball of joy that I think walks this earth. And like that first hug, and you can tell she's excited to see everybody. She's so happy. Like, imagine being able to be a part of a family that's like that.
Right? 24/7, yeah.
All the time. They're here. Anybody is here for you. So those are the kind of things that we're excited to promote and help to grow. Eventually, our stories will become very small background noise, really, in the big picture of this family that's going to be created. Softball tournaments and cornhole tournaments.
So
and
much plans.
Card tournaments and our
shows,
speaking of our first event.
Yes.
That's coming up.
You guys are probably, so this is kind of going back to my story real quick for 1 second.
Yeah.
Sorry.
No, you're good.
One of a handful of people, maybe 2 handfuls of people that know my story. And now it is out there for all of you.
Should I not have said millions? Did that scare you?
No. It probably did. She started sweating. I know she did.
No, but I didn't want to make it seem like I was exploiting my dad's death. But I also want other people to know that are in my situation, 19 years down the road, 30 years down the road, 2 years down the road, that it's okay to tell your story and it's okay to talk about suicide. And if more people did, maybe it would be less.
I will tell you, in my current state of life, you know, there are people like you guys who have become 2 of my very best friends. I have shared so much, and you guys have seen me completely melt down. These girls have seen me melt down. I can't tell you how happy it makes me thinking about people that are going to come together in that sadness. Before you guys came along, before we could share, you know, being a comedian and being the person that is in charge, it is literally my job to make everybody happy. It is literally my duty to society to make everybody laugh and have a good time. So when I don't feel like doing that, I don't have a lot of people I can be like that in front of. And you guys are those people. You have let me cry. You have let me be like, oh my God, the world is ending. I can't do this anymore. Because we all have those days, and it's okay. But so we had a gentleman, Chad, who his mom and my uncle hooked up. Chad and I are similar in age, and this is one of a few stories, but Chad and I are similar in age, and when he came into our family, he was totally a goofball, like Derek, like myself, just loved seeing people laugh and have a good time. And him and I maybe had a couple too many cocktails at a couple family parties and made complete asses of ourselves, but everybody had so much fun, so much fun. And then life goes on. He started a family. I started a family, started comedy. We kind of just lost touch. all of a sudden, he shows up at a comedy show with his mom. And I am, like, ecstatic. I mean, just seeing him, I was like, dude! And it was just instant excitement. He had a great time. I saw him laughing the whole time. He got to sit by Steve and Dawn, who are comedy series super fans, you know.
Right.
And they watched him have a good time. And we just had so much fun. So much fun that night. And he stayed after. He was, he had went completely dry and sober, which I supported 100%. But we still had a good time just hanging out, catching up, laughing, joking. Got the whole table laughing. And 2 weeks later, I get a message that he had taken his life. And in his house, he has 2 small children, barricaded himself in the basement. And I just could not understand. I just could not understand. I was just like, wait, I just saw him. And we did have some interaction back and forth through Facebook Messenger in those 2 weeks. Now, looking back, maybe I can read into some of it, but my brain was not there. And when you talk about the guilt and the what if and the I mean, you're talking about 2 small children left behind. Now this is part of their story. And like, could I have done something? What was happening? And so, since his mom has had we've had some really great talks about it. And she said that she told me he had been struggling. And then you almost get mad. I've gotten mad. Why didn't somebody tell me?
Right.
I'm good at talking people in or out of things. Like, I'm a good talker. I could have talked to him more. I would have answered those messages quicker. The last Facebook message is him to me, and I never answered it. I saw it and left it, unanswered because I was just too busy. And it's just maddening to me to think about the impact that could or couldn't have been had. But then I've watched his family go through, because he was the life of the party in that family, and watching them all try to put that all together. And that happened, within a year, right? That happened within a year of Derek's passing, which was the first blow to my...
Yeah, I didn't even think it was a year, was it? It was... Derek passed July
They were
of
all
2022.
Yeah. They were, and then a kid I went to school with that was just a tragic accident.
Is this the
too.
aunt that I met up in Midland?
Yes.
Oh.
Yeah.
Yeah, we had a good
so
talk.
3 men were just plucked right out of my life in such
Within
a
like
sudden
a year.
fashion.
Yeah.
Yes, and it was just so it made me want to talk about it more because I never knew what I wanted in a foundation besides making people smile. I get excited thinking about this family we're going to create and the amount of people that obviously comedy is going to be a very strong element for me as my contribution to this foundation. To get people out into my aunt has been to several shows since her son has taken his life, and she has laughed and she has cried and she's laughed some more and she's cried and she's laughed and she every time before she leaves she gives me a huge hug and she's like, I needed this and I know how much Chad loved this, and it made me so happy to laugh knowing Chad would have been sitting right here laughing with me. And I'm like, oh, see, I want to give that environment to people. I 100% believe in laughter. I think we could actually, now, I don't have a medical degree, okay? But I'm just saying, you could call me Dr. Giggles here because I 100% think through our shows, through comedy, we have helped heal people in a way no doctor could.
We have.
No doctor could. Never.
I know it helps Kelly and I.
Yeah.
Even if we're making our own comedy between each other.
We just look at each other from across the room and know exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly
From stage,
what,
I'm
yeah.
like, she is not doing that in the back of that room. I'm like, you need to knock that off right now.
It's the last place you can go, and really nothing's off limits. I know with the world of social media now, everything has become so sensitive, and Lord knows I've been the brunt end of it before. But in a comedy show, in that setting, it's just you and the other people in the room. And you're creating moments with each other that will never, ever be recreated again. Sure, comedians have scripted jokes. Sure, I have things I've said 100 times. But the what happens in the aftermath of that joke or in the interim of that joke never is going to be repeated again.
Right.
And you're creating these moments that people need to have to hang on to. How many times do we still talk about certain shows at certain times?
Oh, all the time.
And it's a memory that's burned into your brain, which can help with some of the memories that, take up the dark space inside of your head.
And again, going back to what Derek said, you never know what those people in the audience are going through.
No.
And
Right.
one of our recent shows, I said, "Oh, it's so good to see you," because I saw her and her daughter at another show. And she's like, "I just needed to come. I'm having a really bad day."
Oh.
And I said, "Well, I hope it was better."
Well, maybe that's exactly why I work for the comedy series.
Maybe that is exactly why you work for the comedy series.
Maybe.
Maybe that's why we all work for the comedy series.
Right?
So when you guys are listening to these stories and kind of getting some of the down and dirty on all of us, really, this is the fabric that is the base of D-Smilez. And these, if you can relate to anything that has been said here, you are our people. You are absolutely our people, and we want you to be a part of it. DSmilez.org. Dylan has created an awesome website for us. DSmilez.org. You can go there. There's actually a donate now button on there, or support us, and then click donate now. You can just send money, which will go to help people. But we are launching now. And February 10th, we have a big kickoff fundraiser.
We do. I'm excited
I'm
about that.
pumped. I can't wait.
And it's D-Smilez with a Z.
Yes, DSmilez.
Yep.
.org. .org.
Or on Facebook.
So our February 10th, and I would love to have you guys, every single one of you, please come.
It'll be such a fun day.
That would be so fun. Let's take over the whole town.
Fun day.
That would be so cool.
Yeah.
Take over Frankenmuth.
I can see if Derek was here, ushering them all in.
Oh, you know what? I
he's
might have to
popping his
put that in the
Skittles.
video.
Yes, please.
I might have to put that in the file. So.
Yes, because
Get in.
we will be
In
at
the
Fisher
file.
Hall, which was one of his favorite spots. He did
he
have a
loves-
good time DJing there.
He thought he was the...
Cat's Meow.
Yeah. Cat's meow. He would like that. Yep.
So
The head ringmaster.
let's tell them how the day's going to play out, because we have room for some teams.
Yes,
and
we do.
some- Yes.
So anybody out there is welcome to come. The doors open at 2:00. Teams, if you want to sign up, it is a minimum of $200 to play Fennec Feud. You just need 5 team
Just
members.
like a family feud
Yep, Family Feud.
for grown-ups only. Wink, wink.
It is wink, wink.
Mature
We did
audience,
tell him that he
grown-ups.
might have to turn it down just a tad
It's
bit.
for adults that day, please.
He's going to put it to PG-13.
Mm-hmm.
But we'll have raffles there. We're going to have all kinds of stuff there. You're going to hear from us 3, maybe some other people. We have a DJ. We're going to have a photo booth. So come. That's from 3 to 6. Knowing us, it'll probably last a little longer. Just knowing how us 3 are.
Yeah.
Come and enjoy. Watch Family Feud, which is called Fennec Feud. We also then have at 8:00 is a ticketed event, which is a comedy show. So you can buy tickets at thecomedyseries.net. You'll see it on D-Smilez. You'll see it on 529 Production. If you're on any social media with us 3, you'll see it on our pages. It's up on the website. But at 8:00, roughly, depends on how much we're having fun, the comedy show will start. And those comedians all also have a story.
Yeah.
Yes, they've all been impacted in a certain kind of way also, which is why they were, like, when I opened up the booking for this particular comedy show and asked for comedians that have been affected by a tragic sudden loss and or suicide, I could not believe the amount of submissions we had.
Right.
And now you're talking comedians, people that get on stage to make people happy.
Right.
And reading their stories, literally, I could not stop crying. I was like, oh my gosh, I cannot believe. The one guy, his father was suddenly crushed at work under a gigantic boulder. And he was like 8 years old as a boy.
That's a freak
And that just his
accident.
dad went to work one day and never came back home.
Wow.
And so
That gives
so
me
That is
chills.
traumatic, yeah.
So that's the thing is,
Very
and that's what I
traumatic,
love how we're talking about this. You cannot judge because you do
can't.
not know what people are walking through.
Absolutely.
You have no idea what has happened in somebody's life. No idea. So we do only have room for 6 teams, which I think there's only 4 spots left for Family Feud. So if you want to play, you need to get on that right away. Go to the website. It's $250 to play. Make sure you put it in the notes or put it in if you send the money through.
Yeah.
And because that is first come, first serve. You need 5 to 6 players. 5 is preferable. You guys can do matching shirts. You can do a theme.
Yes, make it fun. Please get matching shirts.
Yes.
It's
Ton of
tournament
costumes.
style. Yeah, it's tournament style. So the highest scoring
Like,
teams
let's
are
make
going
it
to the finals.
costumes.
Yeah.
You remember who that when we
would
were
be
growing
fun.
up?
Yeah.
That would be fun.
Like all like Star Wars characters or all
There you
like
go.
Star Trek characters or
That's cool.
Bob's Burgers characters.
We do want to thank 103.9 The Fox.
Yes.
They are going to be one of our media sponsors. Also, we have Streeter Brothers and
Instalube.
who has stepped up as sponsors to help get this fund kicked off with some money and pay for this event. So we want to give them a huge, huge, huge shout out. Also, 529 Productions, the comedy series. We're all teaming up to make this a possibility.
Yep.
I know a lot of you are creative and crafty and masters with your hands. If you want to send something for raffle items, we're just asking for a minimum of a $50 value. So if you could come up with something, if you need to mail it, we have a P.O. box. If you want to drop it off, we can certainly get you hours for dropping off here at the office. We are going to have some raffle items. The one item that I'm pretty excited about.
She's been talking about this for like a week.
I'm so pumped. And you know what's dumb? I'm doing dry January. I'm not even drinking right now, but I am so pumped.
But that's February 10th.
I know. My thoughts exactly. True Value is donating us a wheelbarrow, and we are filling it full of booze.
I feel like we should put some hose in there.
I know. It should have a hoe.
It should have a hoe.
I mean, it has to have a
It's
hoe.
got to have a hoe.
All right, you can sit in it, Mel.
we're talking-
It's okay.
See how funny
We'll
they're
pick
getting?
you.
I'm a hoe. We might have some mystery coolers, so that raffle will be all in its own. Now, we're not talking like a kid's wheelbarrow. We're talking like a wheelbarrow. Okay, so you guys have seen, we're raffling off a bucket of booze, or we're raffling off a wagon. We got a wheelbarrow. D-Smilez goes all the way. This shit
That's
is
what
legit.
she said.
Wow.
Big D going, taking it home.
Kelly's on
Here we
a
go.
roll today. Kelly's warming up.
There's a reason there's a Z at the end of the smiles.
Yeah.
And a D at the beginning.
Oh my gosh. Okay, we didn't think that part through. All right, I'm certain that sometime I went over.
I think Derek did.
Yes.
Can I just tell
D's.
you? We got the name. We got it all settled. You registered it. It came right back. Everything was good. Oh my God. I went home. I was like, honey, I told my husband, I was like, honey, I'm so excited. We got our nonprofit. D-Smilez. And he's like, yeah, you make my D smile.
She texted me that. She's
I
like,
texted to her immediately. I was like, what have we done? What have we done?
and Derek's like, yes.
He's
I
like,
did it.
shining down.
I knew they were going to be talking about it.
Anyways. DSmilez.org. DSmilez. DSmilez.org. Please join us. We do have sponsorship spots available.
Yes,
so
we
if it
still
is
do. Yep.
Something that you are, and it is a registered 503C, so you can write it off on your taxes. Woo-woo. We got the government on our side, which I think will be the only time in my life I will ever say that.
Right?
Ever. The comedy show, just so you guys know, does come with 2 drink tickets. We are going to have beer and wine. We're talking about some mixed drinks that are probably going to be there too. So you'll see it's a little bit higher of a ticket price than our normal comedy shows. Again, it's all going to D-Smilez, but it does come with 2 drink tickets, and we will have a cash bar open all day.
Even the police is on our side.
I know.
I already went there today.
Hey, Frankenmuth Police.
Right. Hey.
Yeah, after they watch this, they're probably going to cancel it. They're going to be like, oh, that's what that D stands for.
Stands for Derek,
This
just
is
to
a
be clear.
family-friendly
The D
town.
stands for
D
Derek.
stands for Derek, just to be clear.
Yes. It does.
Sure. That's not what my husband says.
Because he has a mind like Derek.
He does. You guys, we are so excited. Please join us February 10th. Please spread the word if you know anybody that you think this could be helpful to or that would want to join in and come along. Eventually, we're going to be setting up all kinds of cool committees and groups of people, support groups. Like I said, we're going to be having a phone tree. We're going to have all the things available for people.
And we have some fun events in our pockets.
Exactly. DSmilez.org. Please go there, visit the website. Check it out. Join us on Facebook. For all you hipsters watching, we are on Facebook.
Yeah, the Book of Faces. Sorry,
Book
not
of
like
Faces.
Instagram or TikTok.
You never
Reload
know.
the app on your phone.
Hold
and
on.
Go like us on Facebook.
We're just on Facebook. You never know. Might put us 3 on TikTok.
You never. Well, that's what we're waiting for. Somebody to join the family that wants to take over the social media, which I think would be awesome.
That would be amazing.
TikTok, Instagram, all the things. All the things. Yeah. And hey, also in the comments below, side note, I'm thinking about redecorating the studio. What do you think it should look like in here? I've been watching a lot of podcasts, and I'm excited in 2024 to get back in here more, get you guys more content. What do you guys want this to look like in here? Do you like the brick dungeon, or do you want something else? What do you want to see?
A dungeon.
I don't know. I've heard that in the comments before. Looks
For
like
real?
you're in a dungeon. But what do you want it to look like? What should we do?
So in the comments, put your stories.
Yeah.
And your
Stories.
decorating tips.
Yes.
Right.
Thank you.
I've never thought of
And
the
your
dungeon.
favorite recipe. Hell, what it?
I'm
All
still
right.
stuck on the dungeon. I have so many comments right now.
We gotta go. Tell them bye.
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 Adios, everybody.